Hello, I am Gianfranco Graniello, and today I will be presenting my Module 2 theme, which is minimizing costs for corporations. So here I would just like to give a visual representation, which is a PowerPoint. So let us commence. Before anything, I would just like to give a little example. Let's say that I have a corporation, of course. So within my corporation, the goal is ultimately to make the most money while spending the least amount of money. And with any corporation, any business, we are trying to make money, not lose money, and we want to make that money the most efficient way we can. And the most efficient way is to save money within our costs. So now that we have gone over a little baseline, companies have costs, which is my first slide. So here I have just a couple examples of some of the costs that companies do have. We have fixed costs, variable costs, opportunity costs, and sunk costs. So I'm going to go a little into depth for each different type of cost. So fixed costs, for example, is something that doesn't change within the inputs of my cost. A fixed cost doesn't change within the outputs or inputs. So let's say that I have to pay rent for a warehouse, for example. I'm manufacturing something. A fixed cost would be something consistent. I have to pay my rent for my warehouse. So let's say it's $3,000. I have to continuously pay those $3,000 monthly. There's no if or buts about it. I have to do it. It's a fixed cost. Variable costs, on the other hand, are actually interchangeable. They could change. So variable costs are all reliant on the output and the quantity of my output. So just to give an example, let's say that I'm manufacturing t-shirts. T-shirts, of course, require some sort of material, some sort of input, just as any other product. So a good example of a variable cost will be the amount of money that I would spend on cloth, for example. The amount of money is all related to the amount of t-shirts I'm producing. So let's say 1,000 t-shirts requires X number of cloth. That number of cloth is going to change depending on the quantity of t-shirts that I'm producing. But it not only goes for the materials, it could also go for the labor, for example. So let's say 1,000 t-shirts requires 40,000 hours of labor, just to give a huge number, even though that may be unrealistic. This could change all depending on the amount of t-shirts. So variable costs are all different. They just all have to do with the output, and so which is the quantity of the product that I'm producing. Opportunity costs. So these ones often get overlooked as they are intrinsic in a sense. Opportunity costs come from a trade-off just per se. Let's say that I'm using a certain material. I'm using cotton, for example, and cotton costs me X amount of money. However, there's another material which I could use polyester, for example. In this scenario, let's say polyester is cheaper for me to produce. There's an opportunity cost of me either using cotton or polyester. However, let's say the polyester is cheap quality. I'm trading off the amount of money that I spend. However, the product that I'm producing is not as good. So there's trade-offs. This is an opportunity cost. I could save money, but at the cost of the quality of my product. So opportunity costs are something that often get overlooked, but must be acknowledged as they are crucial to any type of business. Then we have sunk cost. A sunk cost is something that can be recovered within my company. So it's not like an investment. It's not like something I could expect to make money on directly. For example, let's say I decide to install gigantic windows in my factory. That's a sunk cost because I'm not going to directly make money because of these gigantic windows. These are just an investment that I'm making within my own corporation that's not going to really bring a return. So a sunk cost is something that's not going to recover, but it's still a cost within the company. Moving forward, I have some graphs right here. So I have my short-term graph and my long-term graph. Long-term graph. In my short-term graph, you could see that we don't have a baseline. On the long-term graph, we do have a baseline. In the short-term graph, we can only change the amount of labor we put in. K is capital. This isn't something that changes. In this short term, it's all dependent on the amount of labor we're going to put in order to make the most amount of money. In the long run, we could change both the amount of labor and the amount of capital. So this line right here, which I'm going over with my cursor, is a baseline for labor and capital. We're trying to find an equilibrium in which we're making the most amount of money. So we just have to focus on that, to be honest. Moving forward, I have a couple formulas which relate directly with both graphs. I have my short run graph and my long run graph. My short run graph is showing that the only thing that can be changed is the amount of labor that's put in. In the short run, only labor can be changed, and this is reflected upon on this formula. In the long run, we can see that both labor and capital could be changed, as we talked about in the graphs. So the formulas are a reflection of the graphs which are presented. So just a quick reminder, the goal is to save as much money as possible in order to make the most money. As a company, I'm trying to cut costs effectively in order to make profit efficiently, but to say it in the shorter tense. So the goal is to save money in a smart way. And here's my reference. This reference was the one that was included for chapter 7 on minimizing costs. It's a great lesson. So I highly recommend anyone watching this video to check it out. I have it right here. It's an amazing reference. The graphs that they present, the formulas are extremely educational. So here's the credit to them. And yeah, thank you so much for presenting these graphs to the source and for presenting these formulas and just for the abundance of knowledge. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon.